I can still feel my heart pounding in my chest as I sat at that long dinner table, surrounded by candles and expensive flower arrangements. The private dining room at Luminosa Restaurant was beautiful, golden lights hung from the ceiling, soft music played in the background, and everyone I loved sat around me wearing their best clothes and biggest smiles. My mother wore her pearl necklace. My father had on his navy suit, the one he only wore for special occasions. Across from them sat Derek's parents, Patricia in her elegant cream dress, and Howard looking stern as always in his dark gray suit. My younger sister kept taking pictures with her phone, excited to capture what she thought would be a romantic anniversary celebration. Derek's brother and his wife chatted quietly, sipping wine. Aunts and uncles filled the other seats, making the room feel warm and full of family. 8 years, that's how long Derek and I had been married. 8 years of trying to be the perfect wife, of cooking his favorite meals, of supporting his career, of ignoring the little voice in my head that whispered something was wrong. Derek stood up suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. Everyone went quiet and turned to look at him. He was smiling that charming smile that made me fall in love with him all those years ago. He picked up his wineglass and tapped it gently with his fork, the crystal making a light ringing sound. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," Derek said, his voice smooth and confident. "It means so much to have both families here together." My mother smiled at me from across the table. My sister gave me a thumbs up, probably thinking Derek was about to say something romantic. I felt my cheeks warm with embarrassment at all the attention, but I smiled back at everyone. Derek continued, 8 years ago, I married this woman sitting right here. 8 years of marriage, of partnership, of building a life together. I noticed something strange in his voice, something cold hiding underneath the warm words. My stomach tightened, but I pushed the feeling away. "And in those 8 years, I've learned a lot about myself," Derek said. His smile grew wider, but his eyes looked empty. "I've learned about what I really want in life. I've learned about my needs, my goals, my future." Patricia nodded along, probably thinking her son was about to say something beautiful about commitment and love. My father sat very still, watching Derek with an expression I couldn't quite read. "So, tonight, on our 8th anniversary, I want to be completely honest with everyone here," Derek said. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a large manila envelope. The sound of paper crinkling filled the quiet room. My heart started beating faster. Something was very, very wrong. Derek opened the envelope slowly, enjoying the moment. He pulled out a thick stack of papers, held together with a paperclip. Then he slid them across the white tablecloth toward me, the papers stopping right in front of my plate. "Angela, I want a divorce," he announced loudly, that horrible smile still on his face. The room went completely silent. No one moved, no one breathed. The soft music playing in the background suddenly sounded too loud. I looked down at the papers. Right there on top, in bold black letters, it said, "Petition for dissolution of marriage." My sister gasped. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Patricia looked confused, like she couldn't understand what her son just said. My father's jaw clenched tight. Derek crossed his arms and stared at me, waiting. I could see it in his eyes. He expected me to cry. He expected me to beg him not to leave me. He expected me to fall apart right there in front of everyone, giving him some sick satisfaction and power over me. My hands started shaking, but not because I was sad. I was angry, furious. How dare he do this here, in front of everyone, trying to humiliate me like I was nothing? For a long moment, I just stared at those divorce papers. Then something inside me turned ice cold and absolutely calm. I reached down and picked up my purse from beside my chair. My fingers found the folder I had been carrying for weeks, hoping I would never need to use it, but prepared just in case. The folder felt heavy in my trembling hands. Derek's smile faltered just a little as he watched me. He didn't expect this. He expected tears and begging. I pulled the folder out of my purse and placed it on the table. Then I opened it slowly and began sliding photographs across the white tablecloth, one by one. The first photo landed in front of Patricia. Her face went white, her eyes grew huge. She stared at the image, then looked up at Derek with an expression of pure horror and betrayal. She stood up so fast her chair fell backward with a loud crash. Then she slapped Derek hard across the face. The sound echoed through the entire room. I met Derek on a Tuesday afternoon in September 9 years ago. I remember because Tuesday was my lucky day, or at least that's what I believed back then. Now I know there's no such thing as lucky days, just days when you make good choices or bad ones. My father had sent me to represent our family's construction company at a business conference downtown. Torres Construction had been my father's dream for 30 years, built from nothing into one of the most respected building companies in the state. I was 23 years old, fresh out of college with a business degree, and desperately wanted to prove to my father that I could handle real responsibility. The conference was boring, hundreds of people in suits talking about contracts and building codes and profit margins. I was standing by the coffee table, trying to stay awake, when someone bumped into me from behind. Hot coffee splashed onto my hand. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," a man's voice said. I turned around and saw him for the first time. Derek Mitchell. Tall, with dark hair perfectly styled, wearing an expensive charcoal suit that fit him like it was made just for his body. He had these bright blue eyes that seemed to sparkle when he smiled, and he was smiling at me like I was the only person in that crowded room. "I'm such an idiot," he said, grabbing napkins and gently taking my hand to wipe away the coffee. "Are you burned? Should we get ice?" I'm fine," I said, feeling my cheeks turn red. "It wasn't that hot." "I'm Derek," he said, still holding my hand even though the coffee was gone. "Derek Mitchell, and you are far too beautiful to be stuck at a boring conference like this." I laughed, pulling my hand back. "Angela Torres, and I'm here for work, actually." His eyes lit up. "Torres? As in Torres Construction? Your father is Roberto Torres?" "Yes," I said, feeling proud. "Do you know him?" "Know of him," Derek said. "Everyone in real estate and construction knows Torres. Your father is a legend. Built his entire company from the ground up, never took shortcuts, treats his workers with respect. That's rare in this business." I felt myself warming to him even more. Anyone who respected my father was good in my book. We talked for 2 hours straight. He told me about his work in real estate development, about growing up in a wealthy family, about his dreams of building something great. I told him about helping my father, about wanting to prove I wasn't just the boss's daughter, about my love for architecture and design. When the conference ended, he asked for my number. I gave it to him without hesitation. He called me that same night, then the next night, and the night after that. Our first date was at the most expensive restaurant in the city. He sent flowers to my office the next day, 24 red roses with a card that said, "For the most amazing woman I've ever met." My coworkers were jealous. I felt like a princess. The second date was a helicopter ride over the city at sunset. The third date was a weekend trip to a beach resort. Everything moved so fast, like a whirlwind romance from a movie. My father met Derek after we had been dating for 2 months. I brought Derek to Sunday dinner at my parents' house, nervous and excited. My mother loved him immediately. He complimented her cooking, admired her garden, and offered to help clean up after dinner. But I noticed my father stayed quiet most of the evening, watching Derek with careful eyes. After Derek left, my father pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Be careful with that one, Mija," he said softly. "What do you mean?" I asked, defensive. "He's perfect. He's successful, he's charming. He treats me like a queen." "That's exactly what worries me," my father said. "Men who seem too perfect usually are." And I saw how he kept asking questions about the business, about our accounts, about our properties. "He's interested in something, and I'm not sure it's just you." I was angry at my father for saying that. I thought he was being overprotective, unable to accept that his little girl was growing up and falling in love. Now I wish I had listened. Derek proposed 11 months after we met. He did it at the same restaurant where we had our first date, getting down on one knee in front of the entire dining room. Everyone clapped. The ring was huge, a diamond so big it looked fake, but it was real. He must have spent a fortune on it. I said yes without thinking twice. My father didn't smile at the engagement party. My mother cried happy tears and started planning the wedding immediately. Derek's parents came to meet my family officially. Patricia brought an expensive wine and talked about how excited she was to have a daughter-in-law, and Howard gave a stiff handshake and a lecture about the importance of family legacy. The wedding was 10 months later. It cost almost $60,000, and my parents paid for most of it. Derek's family contributed some money, but nowhere near half, even though they were wealthy. I didn't care about the money back then. I was too busy being in love. I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. I had no idea I was making the biggest mistake of my life. The first year of marriage was good. Not perfect, but good enough that I convinced myself every small problem was normal. All couples argued sometimes, right? All husbands got stressed about work and took it out on their wives occasionally, didn't they? Derek and I moved into a beautiful townhouse in the nice part of the city. My parents gave us $10,000 as a wedding gift to help with the down payment. Derek's parents gave us a set of expensive china that we never used. I was happy playing house decorating rooms, learning new recipes, hosting dinner parties for Derek's business friends. But slowly, little things started to change. Derek began commenting on my appearance more. At first, I thought he was trying to be helpful. "That dress makes you look a bit heavy, don't you think?" he said one morning as I was getting ready for work. I looked down at myself, confused. The dress fit fine. "I don't think so," I said. "Well, I'm just trying to help," he said, kissing my forehead. "You want to look your best, right? Especially when we go to business events, people notice the wives." So I changed the dress, and the next time I picked something else, and then I started asking his opinion before I bought any new clothes. By year 2, the comments got worse. "You're getting a little soft around the middle," he said one night as I changed into pajamas. I felt my face burn with shame. I had gained maybe 5 pounds since the wedding. Normal for anyone settling into married life. "Maybe you should join a gym," he suggested. "My colleague's wife goes to this great place downtown. I'll get you a membership." I joined the gym. I went 4 times a week, even though I hated it. I wanted Derek to look at me the way he did when we first met. But it was never enough. "You're still going to the gym, right?" he would ask, eyeing me up and down, because I don't really see a difference. By year 3, Derek started coming home late. 9 o'clock became 10 o'clock. 10 became 11. Some nights he didn't come home until after midnight. "Big project at work," he always said. "Important clients. You understand, right? I'm doing this for us, for our future." I believed him because I wanted to. I made dinner and kept it warm for hours. Most nights I ate alone, then wrapped his plate and put it in the refrigerator. Sometimes he ate it. Sometimes he said he already ate with clients. I started to feel lonely in my own marriage. His mother, Patricia, visited often. At first I thought she was being kind, checking on me, but I realized she always took Derek's side about everything. "Derek says you've been spending a lot of time at your father's office," she mentioned one afternoon over tea. "Just helping out with some projects," I said. "My father needs—" "A wife's place is supporting her husband," Patricia interrupted gently, with a sweet smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Derek is building his career. He needs you at home, not running around playing businesswoman with your father." I felt anger rise in my throat, but I swallowed it down. "I can do both," I said quietly. "Of course, dear," Patricia said, patting my hand. "I'm just thinking of your marriage. Men need to feel like they come first." After she left, Derek came home and repeated almost the exact same words. I realized then that his mother had been reporting back to him about our conversations. By year 4, I barely recognized myself. I had lost 15 pounds trying to please Derek. I dressed only in clothes he approved of. I stopped seeing some of my friends because he said they were bad influences. I spent less time helping my father because Derek complained that I cared more about Torah's construction than about him. And still, it wasn't enough. "Why can't you be more like Vanessa?" Derek said one night. "Who's Vanessa?" I asked. "My assistant at work. She's always put together, always professional, always knows exactly what to say at business dinners. You could learn something from her." Something twisted in my stomach at the way he said her name, but I pushed the feeling away. I tried harder. I took a cooking class and learned to make fancy meals. I read books about real estate so I could talk intelligently about Derek's work. I bought more expensive clothes and spent more time on my makeup. But Derek just became more distant and more cruel. "Your father still hasn't offered me a position in his company," Derek said one night during year 5. "We've been married 5 years, and he still treats me like an outsider." "Maybe because you work in real estate, not construction," I said carefully. "That's not the point," Derek snapped. "The point is he doesn't respect me. He doesn't trust me with his precious business. What kind of father-in-law does that?" He's just protective, I said. Of his money, you mean? Derek said bitterly. I thought marrying you would mean becoming part of the family business. I thought there would be opportunities, partnerships, investments. But your father keeps everything locked up tight. That's when I finally understood what my father saw 9 years ago at that first Sunday dinner. Derek hadn't fallen in love with me. He had fallen in love with what he thought I could give him. By year 6, Derek stopped pretending to be nice. The mask he wore for so long slipped off completely, and I saw who he really was underneath, bitter, angry, and obsessed with money he thought he deserved. Your father is a selfish old man, Derek said one evening after another, Sunday dinner at my parents' house. We were driving home, and he gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. Don't talk about my father that way, I said, exhausted from another night of watching Derek fake smiles and charm while silently keeping score of every slight he imagined. Why not? It's true, Derek shot back. 6 years I've been part of this family, and he still won't give me any real opportunity. Won't bring me into deals, won't introduce me to his investors, won't even consider me for a management position. What was the point of all this? All what? I asked quietly. He didn't answer, but we both knew what he meant. What was the point of marrying me if it didn't come with access to my family's money and business? I spent more and more time at my father's office, partly to help with actual work and partly to escape the cold, empty townhouse that never felt like home anymore. My father never asked direct questions, but I saw the concern in his eyes when he looked at me. You look tired, Mija, he would say. Are you eating enough? Are you happy? I always lied and said I was fine. Derek's late nights became more frequent. 3 or 4 times a week, he wouldn't come home until after midnight. Some nights I smelled perfume on his clothes, not my perfume, something sweeter and younger. Client meeting, he would say. Had to take some investors out for drinks. I stopped asking questions because I was afraid of the answers. During year 7, I became a ghost in my own life. I went through the motions, waking up, going to work, coming home, making dinner that usually went uneaten, going to bed alone. Derek slept in the guest room most nights, claiming my snoring kept him awake. I didn't snore. That's when Vanessa became more than just a name he mentioned occasionally. Vanessa thinks we should invest in that new downtown property, Derek said one morning over coffee. Vanessa helped me prepare the presentation for the Johnson account, he said another time. Vanessa understands the pressure I'm under, unlike some people. He snapped during an argument. I looked her up on social media one lonely night. Vanessa Cole. 28 years old, beautiful in that obvious way with long blonde hair and perfect makeup in every photo. She posted pictures from expensive restaurants, beach vacations, and business events. In 3 photos, I spotted Derek in the background, blurred but unmistakable. My stomach turned to ice. I should have confronted him then, but I didn't. Part of me was afraid to know the truth. Part of me had become so small and beaten down that I didn't think I deserved better. And a terrible part of me worried that maybe Derek was right. Maybe I wasn't good enough, pretty enough, interesting enough. Derek started planning our 8th anniversary months in advance, which surprised me. He hadn't remembered our 6th or 7th anniversaries without me reminding him. Let's do something big, he said with that charming smile I hadn't seen in years. Both families together, celebrate properly, we can book that fancy restaurant, make it really special. I felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe he wanted to fix things. Maybe he realized what he was throwing away. Maybe we could start over. That sounds wonderful, I said, and I meant it. I'll handle all the arrangements, Derek insisted. You just show up looking beautiful. Can you manage that? The insult hidden in the compliment stung, but I ignored it. I wanted to believe he was trying. Over the next weeks, Derek seemed almost happy. He whistled while getting ready for work. He smiled at his phone constantly. He was planning something, I could tell, but I convinced myself it was a good surprise. Then, 6 weeks before the anniversary dinner, everything changed. Derek left for work early one morning, forgetting his phone on the bathroom counter. I heard it buzz with a text message while I was brushing my teeth. I normally never looked at his phone. He had trained me well not to invade his privacy, but something made me pick it up that morning. The message was from Vanessa. Can't wait until this is all over and we can finally be together for real. Just 6 more weeks, and that boring wife of yours will be out of the picture forever. I love you so much, baby. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I scrolled up through their messages, my heart breaking with each word I read. Months and months of messages, telling each other, "I love you," making plans for their future together. And Derek complaining about me, calling me boring, stupid, worthless, ugly, saying he only married me for my family's money. But the worst messages were the recent ones, where Derek laid out his plan in detail. He was going to humiliate me at our anniversary dinner by serving divorce papers in front of both families. I sat on the bathroom floor for 20 minutes, reading through every message between Derek and Vanessa. Each word felt like a knife cutting deeper into my chest, but something strange happened as I read. The pain turned into something else, something cold and sharp and focused. Anger. Not the hot, screaming kind of anger, the ice-cold kind that clears your mind and makes you think straight for the first time in years. I took screenshots of everything, every message, every photo they sent each other, every disgusting thing Derek said about me and my family. My hands moved automatically, saving evidence while my brain tried to catch up with what I was seeing. There were messages about expensive gifts. Derek bought Vanessa jewelry, designer handbags, weekend trips. Where did he get the money for all that? We had a joint bank account, and I handled most of our bills. Nothing seemed missing. Then I found messages that made my blood run cold. Sold that necklace finally? Derek texted Vanessa 4 months ago. Got $3,000 for it. Taking you somewhere special this weekend, baby. The necklace. My father gave me a diamond necklace for our 5th anniversary, a beautiful piece that belonged to my grandmother. 2 weeks after I received it, Derek said someone broke into his car and stole it. I cried for days over losing something so precious. My father was heartbroken. Derek had stolen it from me and sold it. I kept scrolling, finding more messages about selling things. The gold watch my parents gave Derek as a wedding gift, silver candlesticks from our wedding registry, even some of my mother's jewelry that I kept in our bedroom safe pieces, she trusted me to hold for safekeeping. All of it sold, all the money spent on his mistress. I heard the front door open. Derek calling out that he forgot his phone. I quickly sent all the screenshots to my own email, deleted the evidence that I had done so, and placed his phone back exactly where he left it on the bathroom counter. "Found it!" Derek yelled, grabbing the phone and rushing back out without even looking at me. The moment he left, I collapsed against the wall and let myself cry. Not because I was sad, I was done being sad. I cried because I was angry at myself for being so blind, so stupid, so weak. But I was done being weak. I called my father's lawyer the next day. Bernard Chen had worked with Torres Construction for 20 years, handling contracts and business deals. He was smart, tough, and discreet. "I need help," I told him in his office, "but I need complete secrecy. My husband can't know. I need help secrecy." Bernard looked at me over his glasses and nodded. "Tell me everything." I showed him the screenshots. His expression darkened as he read through the messages. "This man has been stealing from you and your family," Bernard said. "That's not just grounds for divorce. That's criminal." "I know," I said. "But I need more than just these messages. I need to know everything he's done, every lie, every theft, every dirty business deal. Can you help me?" Bernard smiled, not a happy smile, but the smile of a lawyer who loves justice. "I know exactly who to call." 2 days later, I met with a private investigator named Helen Wu. She was a short woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "Your husband is sloppy," she said after I explained everything. "Men like him always are. They think they're so clever, but they leave trails everywhere." Helen worked fast. Within 2 weeks, she had gathered enough evidence to fill a thick folder. Photographs of Derek and Vanessa together kissing outside restaurants, holding hands in parks, entering hotels in the middle of the afternoon. The photos were dated and time-stamped. Some went back 2 full years. Financial records showing Derek had opened a secret credit card in his own name, running up $30,000 in debt, buying gifts, and paying for trips with Vanessa. He was making minimum payments from our joint account, just small enough that I never noticed. Bank statements proving he sold my grandmother's necklace, my parents' gifts, and several other valuable items. Helen even tracked down the pawn shops and got receipts. But the worst discovery was what Helen found about Derek's business dealings. "Your husband has been using your family name to scam people," Helen explained, laying out documents across her desk. He tells potential investors and business partners that he has connections to Torres Construction, implies that he has access to your father's resources and contracts. Then he gets them to invest in fake real estate deals that never go anywhere. He takes their money and disappears. How much? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. At least $200,000 from 3 different people over the past 18 months, Helen said. I felt sick. My father's good name, the reputation he spent 30 years building, and Derek was destroying it to run cheap scams. There's more, Helen said. I recorded some conversations between Derek and Vanessa. You need to hear this. She pressed play on a small recording device. Derek's voice came through clearly. My parents are so stupid, especially my mother. She thinks I'm this perfect son. If she knew half the things I've done, she'd lose her mind. And my father, just a washed-up old banker who thinks he's still important. I can't wait to take their inheritance and never speak to them again. Then Vanessa's voice, giggling. What about Angela? What about her? Derek said coldly. She's pathetic, follows me around like a lost puppy, always trying to please me. I'm going to enjoy watching her face when I hand her those divorce papers in front of everyone. She'll probably cry and beg, and for once I'll get to feel like I won something from that family. Helen turned off the recording. I sat there, completely numb. I have everything you need, Helen said gently. The question is, what do you want to do with it? I looked at the folder of evidence, thick with proof of Derek's lies and crimes. I'm going to that anniversary dinner, I said quietly, and I'm bringing all of this with me. The night of our 8th anniversary dinner arrived. I spent 2 hours getting ready, choosing a deep red dress that hugged my figure perfectly, the body Derek had criticized for years. I did my makeup carefully, styled my hair in soft waves, and put on the diamond earrings my mother gave me for my graduation. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time. A strong woman, a woman who knew her worth. Derek barely looked at me when he came out of the guest bedroom wearing his best suit. Ready? He asked, checking his phone. Probably texting Vanessa. Ready? I said. My purse felt heavy on my shoulder. Inside was the folder containing every piece of evidence Helen had gathered. Photographs, bank statements, recorded conversations, receipts, legal documents, everything. We drove to Luminosa Restaurant in silence. Derek seemed excited, almost giddy. He kept smiling to himself. Of course, he was happy. He thought tonight would be his moment of triumph, his revenge for not getting access to my family's money. He had no idea what was coming. Both families were already seated when we arrived. My mother waved excitedly. My father stood to greet us, and I saw the concern in his eyes when he looked at me. He always knew something was wrong. Patricia wore her cream dress and pearls, smiling warmly at her son. Howard sat rigid and proper as always. My sister was there with her husband, Derek's brother with his wife. Aunts and uncles filled the other chairs, everyone dressed beautifully, expecting to celebrate love and commitment. They were about to witness something completely different. We sat down, wine was poured, appetizers were served, everyone chatted and laughed, talking about memories from our wedding 8 years ago. You two look just as in love as the day you got married, my aunt said sweetly. Derek squeezed my hand under the table hard enough to hurt, his way of reminding me who had control. Except he didn't have control anymore, he just didn't know it yet. After the main course was cleared away, Derek stood up. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. Everyone turned to look at him, expecting a loving anniversary toast. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, Derek began, his voice smooth and confident. He tapped his wine glass with a fork. It means so much to have both families here together. My heart pounded, but my hands were steady. I placed my purse on my lap and opened it slowly under the table. 8 years ago, I married this woman sitting right here, Derek continued, gesturing at me. 8 years of marriage, of partnership, of building a life together. My mother smiled. My sister had her phone ready to record what she thought would be a romantic moment. And in those 8 years, I've learned a lot about myself, Derek said. His smile turned cold. I've learned about what I really want in life. I've learned about my needs, my goals, my future. My father's expression changed. He sensed something wrong. So tonight, on our 8th anniversary, I want to be completely honest with everyone here, Derek announced. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the manila envelope. The one I knew was coming because I had read about it in his messages to Vanessa. He opened it slowly. Enjoying every second, he pulled out the divorce papers and slid them across the white tablecloth toward me. "Angela, I want a divorce." The room went silent. My mother gasped. My sister's phone slipped in her hands. Patricia looked confused, like she couldn't understand what her son just said. Derek crossed his arms and stared at me with that smug smile, waiting for me to cry and beg. Instead, I reached into my purse and pulled out the folder. My hands didn't shake, my voice didn't tremble. I felt completely calm. I opened the folder and began laying out photographs on the table, one by one. The first photo showed Derek and Vanessa kissing outside a hotel. I slid it in front of Patricia. She picked it up with shaking hands. Her face went white. "What is this?" she whispered. "Your son's mistress?" I said quietly. "Her name is Vanessa Cole. They've been together for 2 years." I placed another photo down. Derek and Vanessa holding hands on a beach somewhere tropical. Then I put down bank statements and receipts. These show that Derek has been stealing from me and my family. He sold the diamond necklace my father gave me, the one that belonged to my grandmother. He told me it was stolen. He sold it and spent the money on her. My father stood up slowly, his face turning red with fury. I kept going. More receipts. "The gold watch you gave him for our wedding, Patricia. The silver candlesticks, my mother's jewelry, all sold. All the money spent on his mistress." Patricia was crying now, staring at her son with horror. Then I put down the financial documents Helen had prepared. These show that Derek has been scamming business partners, using the Torres name and our family's reputation to steal money. Over $200,000 from 3 different people. Howard grabbed the documents, reading them quickly. His expression turned to disgust. Finally, I placed down the printed text messages. The ones where Derek called his mother an old fool, where he called his father a useless has-been, where he called me pathetic and said he couldn't wait to humiliate me, where he told Vanessa he was only waiting for his parents to die so he could take their inheritance. Patricia read the messages, tears streaming down her face. Her hands shook so hard the papers rattled. She stood up suddenly. Her chair fell backward with a loud crash. Then she walked around the table to where Derek stood frozen, his smug smile finally gone. And she slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed through the entire silent room. The slap left a bright red mark across Derek's cheek. He stumbled backward, his hand flying to his face, his eyes wide with shock. No one moved, no one breathed. The entire restaurant seemed to freeze in that moment. "How dare you?" Patricia whispered, her voice shaking with rage and grief. "How dare you disrespect this family? How dare you disrespect this woman who loved you? How dare you use our name while saying such horrible things about us?" Tears streamed down her face, ruining her makeup. Howard stood beside his wife, staring at his son with an expression I had never seen before, complete and total disgust. "Mom, I can explain." Derek started. "Explain what?" Patricia cut him off. "Explain how you called me a fool. Explain how you've been cheating on your wife for 2 years. Explain how you've been stealing and lying and destroying people's lives." Derek's face went from shocked to defensive. "You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Angela's family never accepted me, never gave me opportunities." "Opportunities?" My father's voice boomed across the table. He rarely raised his voice, but when he did, everyone listened. "You wanted opportunities? I offered you a job 3 times in the first year of your marriage. 3 times? You turned me down every time because the starting position wasn't high enough for you. You didn't want to work your way up. You wanted everything handed to you." Derek opened his mouth, then closed it. I had never known about those job offers. He never told me. "And you," my father continued, walking around the table toward Derek, "used my family's name and my reputation that I spent 30 years building to steal from people, to run scams. Do you have any idea what that does? Do you care about anyone but yourself?" "This is all her fault," Derek said suddenly, pointing at me. His voice turned mean and desperate. She was never good enough, never supportive enough. Always running to daddy instead of taking care of her husband. I needed someone who understood me, who appreciated me. "Stop talking," Howard said coldly. His voice was quiet, but somehow louder than everyone else's. "Every word out of your mouth makes this worse. You are a thief, a liar, a cheat, and you've brought shame on the Mitchell name. Dad, please." I said stop talking, Howard repeated. He picked up the documents showing Derek's financial crimes. You have two choices. Choice 1, we call the police right now. These people you scammed will press charges. You'll face criminal prosecution for fraud and theft. Choice 2, you sign whatever papers Angela's lawyer has prepared. You return every single penny you stole. You make things right with every person you cheated. And you do it quietly, without fighting, without making excuses. Derek looked around the table desperately, searching for someone to take his side. His brother looked away. His aunts and uncles stared at their plates. Vanessa wasn't there, of course she wasn't. She was probably waiting at home, expecting Derek to call her with good news about his newly divorced status. You have 1 hour to decide, my father added, pulling out his phone. After that, I call the police and my lawyers. The Torres family will press full charges for fraud, theft, and identity theft. The evidence is overwhelming. I'll lose everything, Derek whispered. You should have thought about that before, Patricia said, her voice breaking. You're not my son until you make this right. Until then, don't call me, don't visit, don't speak to me. She walked out of the private dining room, her shoulders shaking with sobs. Howard followed her without looking back at Derek. My own family stood up one by one. My mother hugged me tightly, whispering, I'm so proud of you, Mija. My father kissed my forehead. My sister squeezed my hand. They all left, leaving me alone with Derek and Bernard, my lawyer, who had been waiting outside. Bernard entered carrying more papers. These are divorce papers with terms favorable to my client, Bernard said, laying them on the table. You receive nothing. You admit fault. You waive any right to Angela's property, family assets, or future earnings. You sign a statement admitting to theft and fraud. In exchange, we agree not to press criminal charges if you return all stolen money and make restitution to everyone you scammed within 90 days. Derek's hands shook as he picked up a pen. I don't have a choice, do I? You always had choices, I said, speaking directly to him for the first time all night. You chose to lie, you chose to cheat, you chose to steal, you chose to try to humiliate me. These are just the consequences. He signed the papers. Every single one. His signature looked shaky and small. Vanessa won't want you now, I added as he finished. Not when you're broke and facing financial ruin. She wanted your money, just like you wanted mine. Derek looked up at me, and for just a second, I saw real pain in his eyes. But I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge, just emptiness where love used to be. I took my copies of the signed papers and walked out. 3 months later, Derek had sold everything he owned to pay back the people he scammed. His parents barely spoke to him. Vanessa had indeed left him the moment she realized he was broke and was already dating someone else. I spent those months healing. Really healing. I took a trip to Italy with my mother. I started therapy to work through years of emotional abuse. I reconnected with old friends I had pushed away. 6 months after that terrible anniversary dinner, I started my own consulting business, helping women navigate divorce and financial independence. My first client was a woman who reminded me of myself small and scared and convinced she deserved the terrible treatment she was receiving. You deserve better, I told her, and I'm going to help you see that. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, I sat in my favorite coffee shop on a Saturday morning. I was reading a book, actually enjoying the story instead of just staring at words while worrying about Derek. Excuse me, is this seat taken? I looked up to see a man about my age, holding a coffee cup and smiling kindly. Not the practiced, charming smile Derek used to wear, a real smile that reached his eyes. No, it's free, I said. He sat down and opened his laptop. We worked in comfortable silence for 20 minutes before he spoke again. I'm sorry to bother you, but I have to ask, is that book any good? I've been thinking about reading it. We talked for an hour, about books and coffee and weekend plans. He didn't ask if I was married. He didn't compliment my appearance. He didn't try too hard. We just talked like two people getting to know each other. When he asked for my number, I hesitated. Old fears bubbled up. What if I was making another mistake? What if I couldn't trust my judgment? But then I remembered everything I survived, everything I learned. I was stronger now, smarter. I knew the warning signs. I knew my worth. I'd like that, I said, and gave him my number. Walking home that afternoon, I felt something I hadn't felt in 8 years. Hope. Not hope that a man would complete me or save me, Hope that I could build a good life on my own terms. Hope that I could be happy again. Hope that the best chapters of my story were still ahead of me. Derek tried to break me. Instead, he freed me. And that was the greatest gift he could have given me, even though he never meant to give it at all.